stories. Every single one of us. From the highest of the high to the lowest of the low, we all have stories. Exploring the world for the greatest stories of all time.
Hello and welcome. You're listening to the Aron O'Dowd Show.
The Aron O'Dowd Show. Our soul is the screen upon which we project our dreams. What's your story?
Hello, everybody. It's great to be on the Aron O'Dowd Show. Good morning, good welcome, and good afternoon. I'm on the road today. Usually I'm in my blue-green stream studio, but today I'm traveling. I'm in Ireland and on an adventure next week to tour the County Kerry on a retreat. So make sure you like, subscribe, and smash that like button as it helps the show grow and share the incredible stories of our guests. You know, architecture is so important in what we do, being able to construct the designs of the amazing houses and the rooms we sit in to do what we need to do. And my guest today is Sean Brosnan. He is all about capturing that essence of architecture lines, and we're going to hear more about him. Hello, welcome to the show, Sean. How are you doing?
Aron, I'm great. How are you? Great to see you.
Good. Tell us about like your New Zealand, Australian, your architect, your construction. Tell us more about you, man.
Yeah, so I was born in New Zealand, and we moved to Australia when I was a young teenager, and I suppose completed the rest of my schooling and early career in Australia. And then I left on what was meant to be a 6-month backpacking holiday, 6, maybe 8 months at the most. And 29 years later, here I am still living abroad. So I spent a little over 6 years in London, and I've been in Ireland nearly 23 years now. Traveled the world, 70 countries, all sorts of different places. So my background is a 25-year management career in operations, change management, project management. And then I started as a professional photographer 15 years ago, 25 years ago, 15 years ago. And now I actually combine the two together. So I've been focusing a lot over the last 18 months on time-lapse photography, where the technology has kind of caught up with some of my childhood dreams of time-lapse photography. And my photography in general is focused really around commercial and corporate photography.
What was the biggest challenge you've succeeded in your life, Sean?
That's a good question. I think there are different challenges, different levels. So, on a personal level challenge, in 2015, myself and 4 friends decided over a pint that we wanted to do something as a challenge and to get fit. And that grew from a 1-day cycle to maybe we should do the Ring of Kerry, to eventually we agreed after a few more pints that actually we should do from Mizen to Malin, which, as you well know, is from one end of Ireland to the other. I have some challenges. I was born with scoliosis, kyphosis, so cycling can be a challenge for me, but I thought I'm going to take this on and get stuck in. And anyway, we completed it. So we were 7 days, 765 kilometers we completed, raised over 10,000 euros for charity. So on a personal level, I think that was a massive challenge for me and for my friends. 2 of them had never even cycled a bike before. In a business context, I think it's also an interesting question. I've had lots of different challenges over the years, but I think making that transition from the corporate world to actually being in business for myself and leaving, maybe if I look back now, I'd probably use the word comfort of the corporate world, and suddenly realizing in the first week that I had all these wonderful, magical ideas, but no longer had a marketing department or a finance department or any other department to call on and help me, that actually you were very much out on your own and you had to carve, I suppose, a new path, if that makes sense. So I think that's been a big success.
Where and when did you get comfortable in life to feel like I'm successful?
I don't think you ever get comfortable truly with success. I think I'm a very driven person. Although I was born in New Zealand and we left when I was young, I'm very much tied to my New Zealand roots, I think, in many ways, and a lot of the culture that comes from New Zealand. And Certainly, the All Blacks would be a team that I follow regularly, and I think that because I'm driven and I have that kind of nature about me, then there's never a time that I feel comfortable. I always feel driven to want to achieve more, to help more people, to create more, to help clients, and so forth.
What drives you to do what you do, Sean?
I have an enormous passion for photography, for creating images. I have always, since a young child, carried a camera around, and there's something, I think, maybe something deep within me that I see the world differently. Maybe I'm very much a big picture person, so I'm constantly looking forward and looking at the bigger picture of everything, trying to understand every side of it. I think very passionately that there are three sides to every story. Somewhere in the middle lies this sort of grey, murky area that we maybe call creativity or truth or who knows what that is. So because of that, I think we all see the world very differently, and I see the world through images, and I love creating images that speak to people, whether that's my underwater diving photography, whether it's images that I capture for clients that I'm trying to make speak to their target audience. It's very much that creative world of capturing it, freezing that split second in time, and telling a story with those images.
For sure, guys. Like, subscribe, comment, because this is an amazing guy. Because when I'm on Zoom with him, I see all these pictures of manta rays and whales in the background. Tell us about your deep sea diving photography, Sean.
I love diving. It's a passion I've had for God, is it 26, 27 years. I've been diving since 1998, and the first time I saw a shark underwater, I felt like I needed some jets on the back of me to get me out of the water as fast as I could. Then I kind of realized everybody said it's okay, calm down, and I realized it didn't come and eat me. So I went back and tried again, and the next shark didn't eat me. So then over the years, I've I suppose had this passion for wanting to see more of the deep, see more of sharks and see bigger sharks and so forth. Only yesterday, a friend's daughter, young daughter, asked me, Sean, have you dived with sharks? And I said, yeah, absolutely. And she said, but don't they bite? And I said, no. I said, sharks really, in a lot of ways, are very much like dogs. If you approach a dog and it's growling or barking, would you go up and try and touch it? No, because it's giving you a warning sign to say, actually, this is my space and you need to leave me alone. So just the beauty of the underwater world, the sense of feeling is completely different. Sound, everything is different underwater. And then I suppose being privileged enough really to be able to do it for so many years and take a camera with me and capture that world and bring it back and share it with people. Many that will never ever see that world that exists, and it truly is another world. If you can imagine going into space, that's really what it would be like imagining going underwater. If you've never been there, it's just completely different.
What got you to get in underwater and diving?
I've always grown up around the water. I love the water, but I never really liked being on the surface of the water in a strange kind of way. We used to, I wouldn't say surf now. Surf would be stretching it a little. So we probably did a lot of bodyboarding and boogie boarding and all that kind of stuff when I was a kid, and got dumped many a time on the surface through the waves. But I just always had a fascination of seeing and trying to understand what was below the waves, I guess. Took me a long time, was well into my 20s by the time I actually, did a try dive. And just the minute I got under the water, I just fell in love with it.
What do you love about it?
I think there's many different things that I love about it, but nowadays it's the only place that I can truly switch off. I can't take a mobile phone with me, which is a blessing. I can't take a laptop. There's no Wi Fi down there. There's no Snapchat or Facebook or any other social media platform. And you just truly experience, I suppose, the world and the moment that you're in. It's a very strange thing to describe, I guess, in ways that the minute you jump off that boat and hit the water or walk in from the sandy beach, everything just changes. Feeling is different. Your weightlessness is completely different. I guess like being in space.
Mhm.
Sound is different. How you communicate, and then all of a sudden you get down there and you realize that there's this entire world of activity that's going on below you. Fish and sharks and all sorts of different species, from tiny, tiny micro species right up to massive big whale sharks. And they all serve a purpose. So it just drives me to want to get back and keep going in there.
What's your favorite photo you ever took in underwater?
Ooh, there's a question now. Favorite photo underwater? Um, Typical me. I'm going to tell you about two, maybe three of them very quickly. But I love photographing sharks, especially if you can get them to come close enough to photograph because they move so quickly. But I think the manta rays are my favorite. Seeing a manta ray, they can grow up to 9 meters wide. They
Ooh.
weigh up to 2,500 kilos, and they will literally glide in and over your head, touch your head like a butterfly's just touched your head, and they weigh 2,500 kilos. So they are absolutely amazing. So photographing them is incredible underwater. One of the funniest ones is actually with the whale shark, which can grow up to 15 meters long. And I was snorkeling actually on the surface, but I was head down with the camera in front of me looking down, and the whale shark came right up underneath me. So the photos were taken upside down effectively, and I thought, is this thing going to come up and take me with it? But it came right up underneath me gently and then swam on. So yeah.
What do you love about the camera, Sean?
I think the my love about the camera is the fact that you can freeze a moment in time. That split second you can freeze and hold that forever. But it's more than that. It's about the story. And the old adage, a picture speaks a thousand words. But I truly believe that each image, whether it's a photo, a piece of art, maybe video, something like that, it actually speaks 10,000 different words to 10,000 different people. So if you line up 1,000 people or 10,000 people and put them in front of one image, one photo, one piece of art, I guarantee you they'll all give you a different story about that image. We all see such different things. So the camera, the magic in it is being able to, when you press that button, is to know when to press it to actually capture the story that you're trying to tell, ultimately to the audience that you're aiming at, if that makes sense.
When did you actually pick up a camera and start taking photos?
As a young child, my first SLR camera, so full with film camera back in those days, my first sort of, I suppose, semi-professional SLR camera was actually age 15. Always had kind of compact or point and shoot disposable cameras before that. But I suppose really from age 15 onwards was where I really started actually taking proper photos, if that makes sense.
And was it nature? What was what you were taking at the time?
Everything, anything and everything, from cityscapes to people to nature, landscape. Really, it was just back in those days. It was exploring in so many ways. It's only as the years have gone on that I've fallen obviously firmly in love with taking photographs underwater. And because of my career background in that corporate commercial world, I understand what companies are trying to achieve, and I guess the combination of that and my experience with imagery, I'm able to combine the two together. But in the beginning, really, it was just a world of exploration, of being able to capture. And remember, back in those days when we were shooting with film,
Yeah.
you had no idea what you were capturing. So, you would capture and you'd then have to wait this long wait before you could process a roll of film and get your photos back and see, oh my God, did I waste that entire film? Or did I actually get a few photos out of it? Now we get that instant gratification. We push the button and there's a digital image, right in front of us, and we can make the adjustments to maybe light or composition or whatever it might be. So it's completely different.
I know today you have a phone, you're seeing through the phone, but back then it was your own human eye that was taking the picture.
Yeah, and in so many ways, it still is. So the only thing really that has changed is the format that we use. So yes, we could pick up a phone and you could press a button and you could look on a small screen and say, wow, that looks great. But it's still something magical about having that eye of actually knowing what to capture, when to capture it, and being able to repeat that, I guess, is for me is probably the joy of photography as a whole, you know. But the world of phones and everything now has opened up that beautiful world of photography to so many people to explore and to try and capture different images, you know. So it's fantastic, really.
When do you know you have that perfect shot when you're eye under the camera?
I think it's an instinctive thing. It's the right way to say it, I guess. I feel images before I capture them in many ways. So, especially if you are underwater, you're capturing something that's moving, you're moving. So, you don't have time to stop and wait and then capture. So, it's real instinctual way of knowing when to actually press the button, no more than if you're capturing, you know, a corporate event or people, portraits, I guess images where we would call it our natural smile, all that kind of stuff. But certainly that instinctual feel, and by the time you actually press the button, generally I would know within 10% tolerance whether I've actually got the image or not. Question mark might be, is it definitely sharp? Did I move? And have I captured it? And thankfully now with digital, we can quickly check that, and if need be, you know, try and recapture.
You know, it's funny. You reminded me. When I'd watch TV with my family, my mom's sister would watch this the American Next Top Model, and they'd bring the photography, and they'd be taking all the photos of this and that. And I was wondering, how on earth are you able to do that when it's moving and taking all the shots and figuring out which is the right shot to take? You know?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's funny actually. You say that I'm looking over my shoulder. That image in the background, that was in Canada. There's two polar bears on my wall that I have here, and
Mm.
of all the images I've captured over the years, that's probably still my favorite photo that I've ever captured. And it's two polar bears with their mouths touching. It's almost like the shape of a heart between their two mouths. It was amazing. It was minus 30 degrees when we were there, and these polar bears just roaming around waiting for the ice to freeze. And but it's again, it's just that, you know, it's that constant looking for a story to tell, and then using the mechanics of a camera to actually capture it or freeze it and share it.
Why is that a special photo to you, Sean?
I guess it was a moment. We were on our honeymoon, which was a massive moment, and you know, in the middle of nowhere, really. So we were up on the Hudson Bay in Canada. We'd flown to Churchill, and then in this small six-seater aircraft up to this lodge, which was literally in the middle of nowhere. And just being out, a little bit like diving, I suppose, truly in the wild, and not knowing what was going to come next, and just I was still in a lot of ways learning photography in those days when I captured that image. But it's just the magic of that frozen second in time of seeing the two polar bears that were kind of rolling, play fighting, practicing, and then just seeing as they rolled together, being able to actually catch that split second where the two mouths are touching in that way.
Wow. You do time lapse photography, is that correct?
Yes, that's right. Yep, I've had a fascination with time lapse since I was a young child, and the technology's only just caught up with where my imagination has always been with it. You might remember those flip books that we had when we were kids, and you would flick through the pages, and the image would reveal itself as the pages moved and tell a story. In my mind, that is the early version of time lapse photography. Time lapse has always been very complex, being able to put typically SLR cameras into a box, keep them dry, keep them powered, memory cards fill up. So that it's a very complex way, or was a very complex way of capturing time lapse. Plus, you were also dealing with the fluctuations in light from day to night and throughout the day, especially in the likes of Ireland where we have so much cloud movement around. And these new cameras now, in a box, they have the ability to be able to deal with all that fluctuating light, upload the images remotely, which allows you to manage it remotely, and then use AI technology to be able to analyze each of the images and pull data out of the photos after they've been captured, but do that instantly, if that makes sense. So it's changed the way time lapse will be used in the future for many different purposes. Construction is its obvious place of use, but there are so many different places that we can use this new technology. So it's very exciting future ahead, I think, for time lapse.
What inspires you about doing it?
I think again, it's about telling that story, and with the time lapse now, we would capture thousands, if not tens of thousands or more, of images in a short space of time, and then put them all together, squish them together effectively, and show that in a very short time. So I could potentially show you over 10,000 images in less than a minute and tell an entire moving story, even though they're all individually still images. So being able to understand where to place the camera, how to do that, how to capture that story, and then translate that eventually into a video file that's still images telling the story is amazing in my world. And the added bonus of being able to have all of this data and analytics for construction sites and so forth is fantastic, really.
It's a skill to be able to combine 10,000 still images into a video like you would see on a reel on Facebook or Instagram, and then like wow, from something so small to something so big at the same time.
Absolutely, and again, it all depends on what's happening in your I was going to say image. Image isn't quite the right word, but in your frame, if that makes sense. So you're capturing something in the frame multiple times over a period of time. So, depending on what's happening within that zone, you could have highs of lots of movement and lows of hardly any movement. So, the knowledge and experience of knowing when to capture, when not to capture, and how to combine all that together so you get a really nice, smooth story, smooth skies moving over, smooth light and colors is really where the magic is.
How do you know when that moment is when you gotta stay so still like a sniper would do, and then shoot with the camera to take the image?
I think in many ways it's 30 or 40, well, 40 years or more of experience, really. You just, there's a gut feel for it, but really a lot of that gut feel is coming from experience of doing it many times over a long period of years. Plus also having that background, I suppose, in management and project and change, understanding what's happening within a project, while also understanding the technicalities of photography and how to combine that and tell a story.
So you're the guy that sits at home with a pint telling, you wouldn't believe it, this is the story I saw through these images.
Absolutely. Yep, for sure.
Sean, how did you develop these skills? Were these innate skills you developed over time, or were they learning through the school of hard knocks?
A bit of both, I think. I'm a self-taught photographer, if that's what you want to say. I wonder what if you want to call it that. Um, Interestingly, I've been a professional photographer for 15 years, but it was only last year that I actually finally changed my LinkedIn profile to say that I am a professional photographer. I've been living in this world, the combined world of doing management and photography for 15 years. Um, some of it I learnt myself, some of it I went to other experts. So I would often look for people who are creating beautiful imagery, and I would go and try and learn from them. I'd link in with them. If they had courses running, I'd go and do a short course with them and spend time with them. And that's how I've been able to develop both the instinctual skill, but also some of the real technical skill to lift the quality, I think, of the imagery that I've captured over the years.
If someone's listening to this and they want to know one amazing skill or secret to capture amazing photos, what would it be?
To capture amazing photos, I think, look, photography really, for me, is all about light. It's light, it's composition. Composition is key. And you learn that, um, you can learn that through technical training, if you want to call it that, how to capture an image correctly from a composition point of view. But I think there's a real gut feel to it. You go back to how many times have we all heard, to perfect something, you have to do it 10,000 times or do 10,000 hours. So it's very much something that you do repeatedly, repeatedly, and you continually get that experience, which drives your gut feel. So imagery is all about light and composition. What's the story that you're telling through the composition and the image that you're capturing, and how do you use the light? That could be false light, like flash, potentially, off-camera flash, or it could be sun, it could be shadows, and how you mix that together. So the key for me, really, I guess, teaching people initially is learn what composition is all about, understand that, and just practice. Keep looking at light, watch what it does, get a feel for when light's changing. When the sun goes behind the clouds, when it comes out, what effect is that going to have on your colors, and the story that you're ultimately trying to tell? We would all know those days where the sun's hidden behind the clouds here in the UK and Ireland, and everything's flat and it's lifeless. It doesn't have that life that light and color brings. So it's about understanding that, learning how to shape it.
What's the legacy you want to leave behind you, Sean?
It's a good question. I think I've always had, I think for many years, I had this drive to want to run my own business, to create something bigger than me and so forth. But lately, I think I've kind of been changing the way I'm thinking about that. Somebody last week actually wrote a post in the All In magazine about legacy, and what does legacy mean to you? And is it about creating some big empire or some big business, or is it about the people that you touch along the way? Is it the legacy that you leave within people, about how you treated them, how you worked with them, how you helped them, how you gave them a leg up, and that kind of thing? And I think I've always had, for me, it's always been about people. I think my corporate life was all about people and process. Photography is still all about people and telling stories. And I think if I go back to those New Zealand roots, for me, it's all about people and how you connect with people, how you tell their story, how you understand them, how you connect with them. And for me, I think that's really the legacy I want to leave behind, is images that talk to people and tell stories, but also the memories within people who will look back and maybe tell funny stories about me and the stories that I've shared with them from all the years of traveling around the world, from diving, from experiences left, right, and center.
Sean, if people want to get to find more and see your amazing shots, where can they go?
Yeah, so I've two websites. Brosnan Photography is my main website where I do all my commercial and corporate photography. And linked to that, I have Motion Insights, and that's motioninsights.ie. And that's where all the Timelapse sits separately. Just there's so much information about it, I've separated the two. So I have the two sites and they're linked.
Sean, time flies when you're having great conversations. And from Kiwi and now in the pub of Ireland, I want to say thank you so much. It's been a blast.
Absolutely. Thanks, Aron. It's been an absolute pleasure to join you. So thanks for having me on.
There you go. Make sure you like, subscribe, and smash that like button to hear more about Sean and so on. And, it just shows you a picture tells 1,000 words. And stay tuned, because we've got another amazing guest coming up soon, and we're going to share what makes them special. So stay tuned, and I will see you shortly. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Aron O'Dowd Show, where the world's best stories are told. If you like, please post a review or subscribe to the show. To find out more, contact us at aronodowd.com. That's ARONODOWD.com. We're always ready to share another magnificent tale from the world's best storytellers. So stay tuned and rock on.